Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our State of AI webinar. My name is Ashley, and I'm a Senior Marketing Manager at CB Insights. I'll be kicking everything off before handing it over to Adia for the presentation. Next slide. Before we start, just a few housekeeping items. All attendees will be muted during the event, and there will be a Q&A section at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, feel free to use the Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen. Don't worry about taking notes. We'll be sending a recording within the next 24 hours. But if you have any technical difficulties during the webinar, your best bet will be to reach out to the Zoom Help Center. Next slide. And a little bit about CB Insights. CB Insights is an AI super analyst for market intelligence. It delivers instant insights that help you bet on the right markets, track competitors, and source the right companies. Our AI super analyst is powerful because it's built on the validated database of companies and markets that CB Insights is famous for. Next slide. And if you're interested in doing a free trial to get even more insights, I've already put a link in the chat that you can follow, and I'll add it again now. And with the trial, you'll receive free access for 7 days to our platform. If you're a client and you have specific questions about what you see today, feel free to reach out to your dedicated customer success team member. And now it's time for me to introduce our speaker. Next slide. Adia is an intelligence analyst at CB Insights, where she covers trends in the enterprise tech space with a focus on AI. And I'll hand it over to her to get started.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Hi, everyone. My name is Adia, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today. So as we're seeing AI take over pretty much every industry, I'm so excited to go over a Q3 review of the state of AI and also spotlight some trends that we're seeing impact the AI landscape before getting into some Q&A. So let's jump right in with a market overview of AI. We'll look at things like the startup landscape, exits, how much companies are raising, broader investor interests, and how this is all impacting emerging trends. So let's set the stage first. Global AI deal count climbs 24% since Q2 to reach over 1,200 deals, which is its highest quarterly level since peaking in Q1 of 2022. AI funding, on the other hand, fell by almost 30% quarter over quarter, which actually makes sense as it's driven by a massive decline in funding from $1 billion plus AI rounds quarter over quarter. So if you don't remember, Q2 saw a wave of 5 huge billion plus dollar deals that raised a collective $11 billion last quarter, which was actually about almost half of Q2's total funding for context. So the decline this quarter is unsurprising. And just for context to compare, I want to compare this to the broader venture market to give everyone a full picture of how AI is faring. So the chart you see here shows the equity deals in dollars in venture-backed startups since 2020. And as you could see, we saw a major decline of 20% quarter over quarter to about 55 billion from 68 billion in the previous quarter. And more significantly, we see a decline in deal count for the sixth consecutive quarter with a 10% dip in Q3. So as we all know, post-pandemic in 2020 to 2021, it was a very different macro environment where investors were making more bets. And as we've seen the last couple of years, investors are more selective where they're placing their capital. So we're seeing funding and deal count go down. Now, it's important to note that AI beat the trend in overall venture deals, as you saw in my last slide. And this signals that investor interest in AI is still staying strong despite that downtick in the broader venture market. So we know now that AI is, again, by far outpacing overall venture trends, but to get a bit more granular here, AI startups are capturing 31% of all venture funding right now, which is the second highest share on record, following 35% in Q2 of this year, which again was chock full of those massive mega rounds. So for context against major industries, this outpaces other verticals like fintech, retail tech, and digital health. So that's an idea of the overall funding and deal count, as well as some context behind just how far ahead AI is. So let's take a look at the average deal sizes this quarter. Now, looking at this chart, investors are writing bigger checks to both established and emerging leaders in AI. So here you could see the average AI deal size year to date is up 28% versus the full year of 2023. And to dig a bit more into that, this table shows the top AI equity deals of Q3. And as you could see, a handful of players raised rounds over $400 to $500 million last quarter that had an outsized impact on the upward trend. And I want to focus on the five biggest deals here and some key themes that they bring up. So looking a little closer, these top deals are super prominent right now in the media and have raised a total of 4.3 billion last quarter collectively. So starting near the bottom, we have Grok, which develops AI chips for generative AI, which raised a Series D round at a valuation of 2.8 billion. So something interesting to me here is they also claim that their language processing unit architecture is 10x more energy efficient for AI inference than traditional GPUs. Something else interesting here is one of the only two AI companies to raise a $1 billion plus round this quarter is Safe Superintelligence, which was co-founded by OpenAI co-founder Ilya Sutskever. And the AI lab was valued at 5 billion after raising a $1 billion Series A round in September. So a key theme among these that I want to dig into is there are actually two major defense startups. One is Helsing, which provides AI defense solutions, and it raised $488 million. And the other is this quarter's top deal, Anduril, which looks to serve as a traditional defense contractor, but with a startup mentality of low bureaucracy, fast development cycles, and more cost-effective products. And this company raised a $1.5 billion Series F round at a $14 billion valuation. So let's dig a bit deeper into that. So here you could see on our platform, we can actually see the Anduril profile. And if we click the Generate Report button, it will give a scouting report for private companies showing their financials, market position, a SWOT analysis, and more. Now, looking at that second bullet point, we see that Anduril is broadening its product portfolio to include autonomous aerial vehicles, undersea robotics, and solid rocket motors through its acquisitions. So the company is also investing in large-scale manufacturing, hence why they raised such a significant funding round this quarter. And something interesting about it is it's taking a full hardware-software approach in the US market. So think, again, autonomous drones, border tech, and AI platforms that tie everything together, which is a really innovative way to use AI. So like I said a moment ago, Anduril is not the only company focused on AI in defense and national security. So let's look at how Helsing competes with it. So as you can see here, our beta tool called ChatCBI uses AI to reference our platform data and reports, which could help you research companies and markets like defense AI. So here you could see I asked how Anduril and Helsing compete in the AI landscape to get an idea of what this means for the defense sector. And based on our chatbot, we could see they're taking quite different paths in this space, even though both are attracting massive investor interest. So like I said in the last slide, Anduril is going big with its hardware software approach in the US market and with AI platforms. But on the flip side, Helsing, which is valued at 5.4 billion, is zeroing in on the European market with a focused AI software strategy, particularly working with democratic governments on processing sensor data and information analysis. So what's particularly fascinating here is how both companies are growing rapidly. So Anduril's employee count is up 67% year over year, while Helsing's is also up 33%. So these companies show us just how much potential investors see in defense AI, especially as militaries worldwide are increasingly looking to AI for everything from mission planning to managing autonomous systems. So that was a look at the largest mega rounds this quarter. And again, a big theme was focused on defense and industrial AI. But let's zoom out a bit and take a look at the other billion-dollar deals that took place this year and some key themes that emerged. So as you can see here, Anduril is just one of the 9 AI deals that were at least $1 billion, which again massively contributes to the uptick in average deal size compared to 2023. And just so we're on the same page, I'll run through 3 of the biggest deals here. The biggest being Elon Musk's xAI with product highlights like Grok, which is the company's AI chatbot, which launched last year. And with their most recent $6 billion funding, it reached a $24 billion valuation. So we also have model developer Anthropic, one of the biggest model developers going up against OpenAI, that raised a huge round in March. And finally, we also have G42, which is based in the UAE and raised 1.5 billion from Microsoft. So that's all the companies that raised $1 billion this year so far. And I figured this would be important for the group to know, but we've also had a huge number of companies that have also reached unicorn status, meaning that they've reached $1 billion valuation. So let's look at that next. Now, looking at overall unicorn activity, we saw 13 emerge this quarter, which is about double the previous quarter. To put this into perspective, the broader venture market, you could see, saw just 24 new unicorns. So every other new unicorn is an AI company in Q3, which is pretty significant. So like we did for the mega rounds, let's dig into the top unicorn births this quarter. So of these 13, I want to first highlight how many of them are generative AI applications, starting with generative AI applications for the enterprise, which dominate the new unicorn pool. So we already talked a bit about safe superintelligence, but alongside that, we have 4 other enterprise tech companies that reached valuations over $1 billion in Q3, including engineering ops companies Codium, which is building AI-powered coding tools, and DevRev, which leverages AI to create a unified platform to connect developers, customers, and revenue streams. Now, if anyone attended last quarter's State of AI webinar, we talked a bit about the emergence of AI coding assistants specifically. And as a refresher, that market was a prominent highlight from Q2, among other similar spaces like sales AI assistants, legal assistants, and fully autonomous agents as well that are all picking up speed still. So one company I want to first focus on is Harvey, which makes generative AI-powered legal assistant tools for tasks like research and contract review. The startup boasts a 71.5x revenue multiple with a $1.5 billion valuation and 10 million in revenue. So something of note is legal AI agents and co-pilots have seen a ton of investor attention over the last year, as you could see, and with little differentiation between a lot of companies we've identified in the market, consolidation is likely on the horizon, as is the potential for incumbents to build their own AI agents and become competitive threats. So, for example, we've already seen evidence of this with Thomson Reuters' acquisition of Casetext last year to develop their own AI assistant using Casetext's legal content library. Now, going back to the new unicorn pool, we also have a couple industrial-focused Gen AI companies picking up speed. So at the end of the chart, we have World Labs, which was co-founded by Fei Li and focuses on large world models, which are AI models that understand 3D physical environments for applications in robotics and AR/VR to solve spatial intelligence challenges in industrial settings, like with autonomous vehicles. Now, I want to hone in a bit on Skilled AI, which is an interesting startup reflecting an emerging trend that we're seeing, and that's the generative AI-powered humanoid space. So Skilled is particularly interesting because it's developing a general purpose AI brain to perform diverse tasks across a lot of different types of robots. And its foundation model is called the Skilled Brain. And again, it offers full stack solution for things like visual inspection, data collection, and patrolling. So just to see a comparison, here are the top private companies by valuation in the industrial humanoid robots market. You could see through Skilled's most recent funding round, it's right behind Figure, which is an interesting startup that we spotlighted in our AI 100 list this year, as well as last year. So something cool about it is it signed a deal with BMW to deploy its general purpose robots at BMW's warehouses to automate hard or tedious tasks. So we're seeing some major industry adoption in this space and likely are expecting to see more. So now we've looked at funding, the largest mega rounds, and new unicorn births. So let's take a look at another data point we follow on our platform, which is exit activity. So taking a look at exits in the space, M&A deals dropped by nearly half in Q3. But the deals that did occur showcase how enterprises are strategically scooping up these AI startups to improve their offerings and potentially maintain a competitive edge. So, for example, the largest AI M&A deal in Q3 of 2024 was AMD's acquisition of the AI lab Silo, which could help AMD enhance the development of its AI models on its hardware, especially as it picked up 300 of Silo's AI employees that are now integrated into its own AI group. Salesforce also picked up the unstructured data management startup Zoomin to support its AI agent offerings for 450 million in September. And this platform personalizes product content across customer touchpoints. Also, Canva acquired Leonardo AI for 250 million in July, and Leonardo helps create AI-powered art, illustration, and video generation. And an interesting stat here is that they generated over 700 million images within 12 months of launch itself. So this acquisition potentially strengthens Canva's creative AI capabilities, and it actually has already led to 10 billion uses of those tools. So almost at the end here, NVIDIA acquired AI model optimization platform Octo AI, which specializes in deploying and optimizing AI models across hardware platforms. And this one's actually NVIDIA's fifth AI acquisition in 2024. So it seems like they're trying to build out a pretty comprehensive enterprise Gen AI stack. And finally, SoundHound acquired Amelia, which is an enterprise conversational AI platform that develops solutions for customer service automation. And this acquisition was worth 80 million. So here we show the median time to exit based on all exits in 2024 so far. Essentially, AI startups exit in almost half the time at 7 years versus 13 years for all others. So this also alludes to the fact that when many of these new AI startups mature, we should expect an increase with exits overall, but that's likely still years away. So it could be larger companies picking up startups like we showed in the previous slide, or it could be a consolidation in some markets like we predicted in the legal assistance space. But yeah, we'll have to see. So our final data point that I want to talk about before we transition into Q&A is global AI deals. So more specifically, one geographic region that I want to spotlight today is the US, which continues to lead in AI funding and deals. Now, not only are 10 out of those 13 new unicorns based in the US, but also AI startups based in the US drew $11.4 billion across 566 deals in Q3, which accounts for over 2/3 of global AI funding and almost half of global AI deals. So more specifically, within the US, Silicon Valley still dominates AI funding and deals, but other metros are still gaining ground. In Q3, LA and New York saw their AI deal counts rise, while Silicon Valley watched its count drop for the second quarter straight, actually. So now that I've gone through an overview of the state of AI, I just want to talk about some other resources on the platform before we move into Q&A. So here we have more AI research for anyone interested. which includes coverage on the themes that we talked about today, like defense AI, legal assistance, and industrial applications. So here at the top, we've got more coverage on generative AI specific predictions for the year. We've dug into the details of what's really happening in the small language model space, and we've spotlighted 100 of the most promising AI startups of the year. But we also have some more granular research, like the AI strategies of the world's largest companies, a market on autonomous agents, and also strategy maps for tech giants like NVIDIA as resources to learn more about different specific segments of AI. So with that, I will jump straight into Q&A. The legal AI assistant space seems quite crowded. How do you see this market evolving over the next year? So, like I said, we're definitely watching the space closely. So companies like Harvey are showing great revenue multiples, like I said, but again, we're seeing a lot of similar offerings in the market with relatively little differentiation. So we expect some consolidation. So the bigger legal tech companies will either acquire these startups or build out their own capabilities to stay competitive. One specifically is LexisNexis that stands out because they have a pre-integrated ecosystem. So they could just merge an AI agent into its existing stack to round out its product set. But other than the lack of differentiation, yeah, a lot of these tools aren't well integrated into existing legal tech platforms, which makes it a bit harder to retain customers. So we've heard customers saying it would be easy to switch to a new solution. Looking at the shift in regional AI deal flow with places like LA and New York gaining ground on Silicon Valley, what implications might this have for talent distribution and company culture in AI startups? Yeah, this is an interesting question. I think that geographic diversity could be a game changer for the AI ecosystem within the US. Like it might lead to more specialized AI hubs, like maybe LA focusing on entertainment and media AI, New York on fintech AI applications, and other cities developing their own unique AI specialties based on their existing industry strengths. With AMD's acquisition and NVIDIA making multiple AI acquisitions this year, how do you see the AI hardware software stack evolving? Are we moving towards vertical integration? Yeah, so this market appears to be moving towards what we call full stack AI dominance. So the traditional boundaries between hardware, software, and services are blurring. So companies that can control both the infrastructure and the application layer might have a significant advantage in terms of optimization and performance. So that could really reshape how enterprises end up developing or deploying AI solutions. Could you elaborate on why AI deal counts are climbing while overall venture funding is declining? What makes AI special in this environment? Good question. So AI is really beating that broader venture slowdown because I think investors see it as a transformative technology that's already showing real business value and adoption. So again, we're seeing AI capture over 30% of all venture funding right now, which is massive compared to other sectors. So if investors are betting that AI companies will be the next tech giants, they're willing to write bigger checks, even in this more selective environment. And we'll have to wait and see if it's a bubble that eventually bursts as adoption potentially picks up more. Okay, I'll stop the Q&A there in the interest of time, but feel free to email me or send me a message on LinkedIn with any other questions, and I'll do my best to personally get to them soon. And thank you so much for everyone for attending.